this is Dave, and today I am bringing Agricola to the table. This is the 2016 Mayfair edition. This is the revised, latest and greatest version of the game that has a brand new appearance for the game board, all shaped wooden resource pieces, which you'll see as we play the game. Shaped farmers, those are nice. And a streamlined rule set and clarification on many of the cards. So this is definitely a nice improvement on the game, and I'll talk more about that in a separate review video. But what I wanted to do in this particular video is a solo playthrough using the solo rules for the game. I'm going to play all 14 rounds, and I'm going to explain rules as we go along. You can see how this game is played and make up your own mind about your opinion of this. So, really quickly, all of the wooden resource pieces are above the board. They're off camera, you don't see them. It takes up a little bit more space than I can fit onto the screen. And I have our main board set up here. Nice thing now, this new shaped board, so you can see when the harvests come at the end of 4, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 14. So you can see progressively it gets more important to have food at the end of the game. And then also when you're playing the solo rules, you just use the solo board attachment, which has all of the end game scoring information right here in front of us so we can look at this. I know in previous editions you'd have to look on the back of one of the other boards. This is attached right here. In a larger game with more players, there is an additional action space board that attaches here. Have my single farm board here set up, my 2 wooden rooms, my 2 farmers to start off with, and then I have all of my major improvements over here. The major improvements are going to be mainly for food production. Some of them will have some end of game scoring. I also have my starting cards. I have 7 of my occupations that I'll be looking through and using them, and 7 of my minor improvements that will give me a different abilities throughout the game. And when they come to those action spaces, if I choose them, I'll show you the cards that I have as we go along. But let's get started into this. So each round I'm going to assign my workers to these various different action spaces, and over the course of the game more spaces will become available to gather up resources or take different actions. So the first thing that I need to say about the solo rules is that I start off with no food. So I have no food to start off with, unlike a regular game where we start off with either 2 or 3 food. Also, this forest accumulation space only starts off with 2 wood instead of 3, so each time that we accumulate wood here, it'll only be 2 wood coming out instead of 3. And also, my adults are going to require 3 food at the end of each harvest. We're going to have 3 food. The newborns still only take 1, but that is a change from the regular multiplayer game of 2 food. So let's get started here. Just real quickly, some of the spaces that we have. This is going to allow me to build rooms on my farm. This is going to allow me to, with the solo game, I don't need to worry about the start player, but it is a place to play a minor improvement card. This is going to get me grain seeds where I can plant later. This is going to allow me to plow fields. This lessons is where I'm going to be able to have my occupations. The first one's free, then I have to pay a food. And then day laborer, this is going to give me some food. This first round, this card came out, grain utilization. This is going to allow me to sow any grain that I have into fields and or bake bread, which I will need to have some sort of a fireplace, cooking hearth, or oven to be able to convert grain into food. Here's a forest. This is a wood accumulation space. The clay pit's going to allow me to get clay, reed bank for reed, and then this fishing hole is going to have food. In some of the spaces, there's going to be little arrows there, and that's going to be each round where things are going to accumulate. So, as we're getting into this, the first thing I'm going to do is go over to this farmland and allow me to plow a field. So I'm going to take a field tile and I will place it on my board. I'm going to start far away from my my farm, my house, because I would like to try to add some rooms throughout the game. And once I place this, now I cannot move it. And from now on, any other fields that I plow are going to have to be connected orthogonally. So I can't place one here, then go here. When I start here, I've got to start adding spaces. So that's going to be something that is important. And I think the first thing that I want to do is maybe try to get an occupation. So let's take a look at what I have. Real quickly, I have this seasonal worker that every time that I use the day laborer action, which is down here, this is going to allow me to get additional grain, and then from round 6 or on I can get a vegetable. This is pretty useful. I have this clay builder. Every time, if I no longer live in a wooden house, I place 2 clay on each of the next 5 rounds, and then I'll be able to get additional clay. That's kind of good too. We have this conservator. I can go right from a wooden house directly to stone without having to renovate the clay first. So if I decide I want to use him, I can get more points for my room, but stone is hard to come by, so it'd be really hard to expand my house. But this is a nice thing to use later on. If I decide to have a big house, I can renovate it rather quickly. This priest, this is if I have a clay house and at a certain time that I play him, if I have only 2 rooms, I can immediately get some resources, something to think about if I'm not going to have children in the game. And this geologist, every time that I use the reed bank, I'm also going to get clay, which is nice. And this oven firing boy, each time I use wood, I can also bake bread. So some things here that are useful. And this hedge keeper, each time that I want to build fences, I can basically the first 3 I don't have to pay wood for. So that's nice for building in for a lot of pastures. A couple things real quick. The off to the side, this +1 means, or 1+, this is the number of players for the game. And then there's some decks A and B, and then there's some little symbols that talk about each of the different types of cards. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm already starting to plow fields. I'd like to get some grain. I'm going to play this seasonal worker. So each time that I use the day laborer action, I will get 1 additional grain. So that's a good thing. And so from now on, if I use this, I have an extra ability. So that's the first round. So my 2 workers are going to return back home. And what I'm going to do now is turn over the next card for this next round. This is major improvement. This is going to allow me to either do a minor or major improvement. So minor improvements are the cards that I have in my hand. Major improvements are over here. And the next thing we need to do is reseed the board. So I'm going to put 2 wood in this space. We're going to add 1 clay here, 1 reed here, and another food to the fishing hole. So I think what I would like to do is I looked through my cards before. I have something that can also be a nice, useful to work down the road is this loam pit that says each time I use the day labor action I can get 3 clay. However, I need to have 3 occupations. I only have 1. So there's something to think about later on, but there are some other useful things that I have along the way that I might try to get out into play. So we'll take a look at those cards in just a second in case I decide to do a minor or major improvement. So I have this moldboard plow. This is something where I have, it'll cost me 2 wood, and I already have the 1 occupation, but this is place 2 field tiles on this card. Take this twice this game when I use the farmland action, I can also plow 1 field from this card. So I can do a double plow. It's really, really useful for me for getting some fields going on, especially since I can get vegetables and grain later on. And I have another farmland where I can get baked bread actions, and this is going to allow me, this forest will allow me to get some wood. We have this loam pit, which I talked about before, and the strawberry patch, this is going to allow me to get food on the next 3 rounds. I have to have 2 vegetable fields in order to do that. And this canoe, each time I use the fishing space, I get additional food and a reed. This is kind of nice too. Especially since I'm going to need quite a bit of food in here, this might be an additional way for me to get some stuff. So, and then we have this tongs. So I think I did all the tongs. If I get stone, I get additional 1. So, in order to play an occupation though, I need to get some stuff. I'm going to go over to this forest and accumulate these 4 pieces of wood. I'll take these and put them into my personal supply. Here are the pieces. You can see wooden shaped, and I'm going to place them in my supply, so I've done that. Now, my second thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to head over to this meeting place, and I'm going to play a minor improvement. And I think I'm going to build this canoe. So this is nice. I have 1 occupation. I will pay 2 wood. So I'll pay the 2 wood back to the supply. And this is going to be worth victory point at the end of the game. And every time that I use the fishing accumulation space, I will get 1 additional food and 1 reed. So that's going to be nice to have as well. So I'm going to place this here next to me. All right, that's the end of the second round. These 2 workers are going to go back home. I'm going to go ahead and fill in my next spaces here. We've got a clay that goes there, a reed here, an additional food. And the next round we have placed this card out, and this is sheep market, so now we start having livestock. One note that I can keep 1 animal in my house. So I think what I'm going to do is I am going to use this round in order to secure some food for the next one. I'm going to go to this fishing space. I'm going to take the 3 food here, place them in front of me. And of course now it says each time I use the fishing accumulation space I get an additional food. So take 1 there and I have 4 food, and I will get 1 reed. So now I have reed. This will be good for improving my house later because I need it for the roof. And my second action, I am going to go over to this day laborer and I'm going to get 2 more food. So that's going to be good. Now I have 6 food. I have enough for my workers for this round. But I'm also going to get an additional grain. So now I have a grain. This is going to be good for plowing some fields. So, end of the round, 2 guys are going to go home here. We will put out our wood again. Put some clay here, a reed, and a food, and an additional sheep. And the next round comes up, and I have this fences. This is building for one wood. I can build 1 fence, and so that's going to be a good thing. And then also at the end of this round, I'm going to have a harvest action to take. So the first thing that I want to do is, I believe I'm going to want to go over and acquire this clay. I'm thinking about maybe upgrading my house to a clay house, and this is a good start because I will have the pieces already in place for later on when I can do a renovation. And the next thing that I will do is I'm going to go over to this major improvement, and I will spend 2 of my clay to build a fireplace. And this will allow me to, at any time, I can convert things into food. So this will allow me to convert livestock into food. So I have this major improvement. Okay, so my workers are going to come back home, and now I have reached a harvest. So the first thing that I would do is, if I had any fields, I would take 1 grain off of there, put it into my supply. I don't have that. I now have to pay food for my workers, so I will have 3 food per worker. So it's going to take all 6 of my food. I'll return that to supply. And if I did not, I would have to take a bagging token for each food I didn't have, and they're worth -3 points. I don't want to do that. And then also, if I had any livestock, then they would breed. So I don't have that right now. But that's the end of the first harvest. We're going to move on to the next round. We'll flip over the card. We have this Western Quarry. This is going to have a stone here. So, I think what I'm going to want to do, I should look and see what my cards are again in case I want to try and get another occupation out. We look for that moldboard plow. That was something that was nice. Oh, good. I do have 1 occupation. I want to do that. I'm going to go over to this major improvement. I'm going to play a minor improvement. I already have the 1 occupation. I'm going to pay 2 wood. And I'm going to bring out this moldboard plow. And what this is going to do is place 2 field tiles on this card. And twice this game, when I use the farmland action space, I can also plow 1 field from this card. So that's going to be good. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, on this turn, I'm not really sure what I want to do. I'm going to go over to this day laborer. I'm going to get 2 food, and I will get a grain because of that. So those are my 2 actions. Take these 2 guys home, and that's the end of the round. I'm going to put 2 more wood out in this space. Clay goes here. a reed. Actually, I don't think I filled those in from before, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I do that this next round. And this space, and this space. So I believe that I do have to put in 2 more wood. If I didn't do this, I had to take a cut in between scenes. So I'll put the wood there, another clay, and a reed, and a food. I believe that that's proper how we did that. I already have the sheep there and the quarry. So that was 1, 2, 3. All right. Next round, we have this house redevelopment. This is going to be 1 reed and then 1 clay for each room of the house. So I think that I'm going to be looking at doing that pretty soon. I have to see what I'm going to do about food on this particular space. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I secure food here. I'll go to this fishing hole, and I'm going to get 1 additional food and a reed because of my canoe. And I believe that at this point I'm going to go over and grab all this wood. So we've got a number of spaces, or a bit of wood here that would be useful. All right, that's the end of the round. These guys go back home again. So you can see turns go rather quickly even in a solo game. 2 wood there, clay. This reed is starting to really accumulate. It's going to be awfully nice to take that, especially if down the road I decide I want to try and be able to convert reed into food with one of the improvements. Put a sheep on this board and a stone up here. The next space comes up with basic wish for children. So if I have room, I can add a child and also play a minor improvement. And I'm going to have a harvest at the end of this particular round. So I have enough food. I am going to do this. I'm going to grab this stone there, and I believe that the next one that I'm going to do is go to this day laborer spot. No, I'm actually going to plow a field. And I'm going to use my mold board plow to plow one of these fields here. So it's going to give me 3 spaces there now that I have for my grain and stuff. So, end of the round, my 2 farmers are going to go back home. And before I seed everything here, we would have our harvest. I would take any grain off that I don't have. I have to pay my food for my workers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Food has been paid, and I don't have any livestock to reproduce yet. So that's going to be it. The next round, we put our 2 wood out, a clay, a reed, a food here, another sheep, and a stone. And we'll go on to this next round. This is going to allow me to get vegetable seeds. One of the things that I'm going to have now, starting to look at wanting to do on this turn, is making sure that I have the ability to have some food. And I'm going to have to do something rather drastic pretty soon, because after this next round I'm going to have a harvest and I don't have a lot of time anymore to do a lot of other actions. I have to really be focused on what I'm doing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to this major improvement, and I'm going to spend 2 stone and 2 reed, and I am going to acquire this basket maker's workshop, and this is going to allow me to convert reed into food. Now there's a lot of reed right here, and also at the end of the game it is going to give me some victory points there, so something to think about that way. So I'm going to place that off to the side, and it's also worth 2 victory points. So my next action, I'm just going to go over here and grab all this reed. So at harvest time, I'll be able to at least make 3 food, so I don't have to worry about trying to get food as much. So All right, that's the end of this particular round. These two guys are going to go back home. I still haven't even added on any children. That's not a good thing. And we're going to reseed the board. 2 here. Here's a clay, a reed, food here. We'll add a sheep. We've got our fencing. We'll add a stone. And now the next round, we have the pig market with pigs. So let's start the next round. And I think that I'm going to build some fences. So I've got 2, 4, 6, 8 wood. I can build 8 fencing sections, which is nice because I think what I'm going to do is spend this 8 wood, and I'm going to build right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in this space, each of these can hold 2 animals. So I can hold, right now I can hold 6, which is a nice thing to do. And I think right away now I'm going to just go ahead and use my second worker to go over and put these 6 sheep into my pasture. And also, one of the things that I can do, because of my fireplace, at any time I can convert a sheep into 2 food. And I'm going to go ahead and do that, and the reason being is that at the breeding phase I'm going to have them reproduce, and then I'll have room to put that one in. So that is something that is good. All right. And the next thing then is it's going to be harvest time. I don't have any grain to take off. I will turn 1 reed in for 3 food, so that's going to be useful. And so I have 5 food in front of me, and I can also use one of my grain as a food. So I'm going to pay my 6 food, and actually I think what I'm going to do instead of doing that is I'm going to convert another sheep into 2 food, so that way I'll still have 1 left. So I will turn in my food, and I'll have 1 food left over, and I fed my family, and now we're going to breed. And I have, at least if I have 2 sheep, I'm going to have them breed. I have 4, I will only get 1 offspring, so I have 5 right there. And that's the harvest there. We're going to move on to the next round. So let me put some more wood out on the board. 2 there, this one here, a reed, food on the fishing action, stone for the quarry, and another pig. And we'll add a card here. This is the eastern quarry now with another stone. 2 workers come home. And let's look and see what I have in my space, my occupations here, if there's anything that I can do. Stone is looking pretty good, and I might actually want to be looking at doing that pretty soon. Yeah. Alright, so I think after looking at that, I'm looking at my cards. I'm just going to have to do something. I'm going to try and get some grain, maybe. So this is looking pretty good here. I want to get some food because I'm going to need that. So let me go over to this fishing hole. I'm going to go ahead and grab these 4 food, and I will get an additional 1 and a reed. So I've got a lot of reed, which is going to be good for the end of the game. I need to have at least, I want to have 5 at the end of the game to get 3 victory points. And then I think I'm going to go over here and get this this wood, because I have something up my sleeve that I think that I want to do here for the towards the end of the game. So I'm going to take this wood here. This is going to be the end of this round. These 2 are going to go back home. We'll reseed the board. 2 wood there, clay here, a reed, food there. We go down this way with the sheep. I'm not sure if I put a sheep out there before or not. Stone and a pig. And there probably should have been another sheep there, but that's all right. And a stone for this eastern quarry. cattle market gets a cow. And so I'm going to go and build some fences. So I'm going to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wood. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wood. And I built the second pasture. And my second action, I'm going to go over and grab these pigs. I'm going to put these pigs in here in this pasture. So, don't have any grain to take off of here right now. So that's not going to take into place. I have to feed my workers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 food go into the pay for those 2 guys. That's good. And we go into our breeding phase now. My sheep is going to reproduce, and I'm going to get another pig. So that's a good thing. And my workers are going to go back home, and we will get ready for the next round. 2 food come out, clay, a reed, another fishing hole there, sheep, another stone, pig, a stone over here, and another cow. And we put this out. This is going to give me a plow field and sow. So I think I'm going to go ahead and jump on that. Plow 1 field and sow. I'm going to plow that field, and I'm going to take this one off of my board. So plow 2, and then I'm going to sow. And when I sow, I'm going to take my grain that I have in my supply, and when I do that, I'm going to place 2 more on top of there. So I'm going to actually reproduce there. And this will be useful at harvest time because I'll be able to have some additional food. So we've done that, and I believe that I'm going to probably do this. Let's see. I will go. Oh, I don't have any food, so that's not going to help me right now. I was going to look at. Okay, I will go over to this day laborer, and I'll get 2 food. And because I went to the day laborer from round 6 on, which I have been, I can choose to get a vegetable. I'm going to take a vegetable into my space. So what I want to do is try to get another occupation and try to upgrade my house to stone rather quickly. So that would be good. Probably leave that space open, but I want to try and plow fields if I can. These 2 guys are going to go home. I have to take a look at my food requirements. What am I going to have? I'm going to go ahead and butcher one of my sheep for 2 food. That's going to go right there. And then at harvest time, I'll be able to have 3 food that I will have, so I will be okay for this particular harvest. I might want to do something else just to get additional food down the road. But I'm going to seed the board. 2 clay, reed, fishing hole, sheep, stone, pig, another stone, and another cow. And I only have 2 spaces left to generate some things, and I think I have an idea what I'm going to do. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to butcher pig, and the pig becomes 2 food, so even better that way. And I'm going to have this card come out here, Urgent Wish for Children. I can have 3 even with room. That might actually be nice for the last round, but I'm going to have a bunch of food. Let's see. Man. I'm trying to really think about what I want to do to maximize this. I want to try and get some points on the board. I'd like to get some. So with pumpkins, if I only have 1, I'm going to get 1 point. I'd like to get some more, but I don't know if it's going to be worth trying to go after that. Let's see. I'm going to have a harvest at this time, after this time, so I'll have some more grain. And I'm just trying to think, if I build off this space, then I could I can convert one of those cows into food right away, and then I can keep a cow in the house. That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. I'm gonna go over, first I'm gonna go and build a fence. So for one wood, I'm gonna divide this off. And my second one, I'm going to go over to this cattle market and grab these cows. Anytime that you take an animal off an accumulation space, you can immediately convert it to food. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that with the fireplace. I'm going to take one of these cattle and convert it to 3 food. So that's a good thing to have. So I've got a bunch of food. Now I wanted to make sure that I have all the different animal types because I want to be able to score points for them at the end of the game. So when now we're at the harvest phase, so we're going to take one of these grain off on this particular space there. This is nice because maybe next time I might want to sow, and I've got 3 fields. I can actually fill those up and I can live without those 2 particular spaces there. The next thing I'm going to do is I need to feed my 2 workers, which have come home, and that's going to cost me 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at harvest time I'm going to go ahead and turn in one of my reed and give me 3 food so that I'll have some for the next round. That's perfect, I got that. And then my animals are going to breed. So I'm going to have an additional sheep come in, I'm going to have a pig, and I'll have one more cow. I'm going to keep the cow in the house. I can keep one animal in the house, so that's going to be good there. So now I'm going to have 2 actions for this last space. Let me see these board up. I'm really not looking for any more wood or this kind of thing. I think what I'm going to actually do is accumulate stone and probably convert my house to stone to get some points. Reed goes there, food goes here, sheep goes here, stone there, another pig, another stone, there's a cattle. And the last round we have farm redevelopment, which is good because then I'll be able to convert oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. Shoot, I don't have enough people to take that particular action. So much for trying to convert my house over to stone right away. However, I will be able to at least convert it to clay. I have enough resources for that. So I believe my first action, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and plow one field and sow. So I'll plow that field there, and then I'm going to sow what I have. So I have a vegetable there and 2 grain. So this vegetable adds 1 to the top of it, and the grain will add 2 to each one. So I have plenty of grain. And I think the last thing that I'm going to do is spend my worker over here and do some renovation, and I'm going to spend 1 reed and 1 clay per room, so 2 clay. And what I'm going to do is convert my house then from wood to clay house. And that's going to give me some points at the end of the game. So now what we're going to do is come home and harvest. So these 2 guys come back home. Harvest time, these come off. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Let's see how much I have. I have enough stuff here. I have enough of those pieces for food. I have to feed my workers, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wood, or 6 food, I'm sorry. And finally, I'm going to have my livestock reproduce, which right now I'm not going to be able to do anything. I can convert them into food, but that's not going to make any difference at the end of the game. So I don't have room for them, so they're just going to have to leave. And that's going to be the end of the game. We're going to go ahead and do our scoring. So I've got my little sheet out, and I'm going to go over everything that we're going to have. So the first thing that I'm going to do is look at my field tiles and how many field tiles I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when I have 5 or more, I'm going to gain 4 points. So that's going to give me 4 points. I have 3 pastures. I have this one here, and a smaller one there. 3 pastures is going to give me 3 points. When I look at my grain and how much I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grain. If I have 8 or more, that gives me 4 points. And I have 2 vegetables. The 2 vegetables is going to give me 2 points. With my sheep, I have 8 sheep, 2, 4, 6, 8. When I have 8 sheep or more, it's going to give me 4 points. With my wild boar, I have 4 of them. When I have 4 wild boar, I'm going to have 2 points. And I have 3 cattle. When I have 3 cattle, that's going to give me 2 points. Unused farmyard spaces is I have 1, so it's going to cost a -1. And I don't have any fenced in stables, so that's not going to give me any points. I have 2 clay rooms, that's going to give me 2 points. I have no stone rooms, and I only have 2 people, and each person that I have is going to give me 3 points. That's going to give me 6 points. When I look at the victory points for my cards at the end of the game, this is going to be worth 2. My fireplace is worth 1, and my canoe is worth 1. That's going to give me 4 points for those. And then my other bonus points. I do have 6 reed actually in my thing, and if I have 5 reed, that's going to give me 3 points. So I'll score those 3, so that's 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add up my points. 4 and 3 is 7, and 4 and 2 is 6, so that's 13. And 13 plus 8, that's 21. Minus 1 is 20. Plus 2 is 22. Plus 6 is 28. Plus 7 more points is 35 points. So scored 35 points using the solo rules of the game. You got a chance to see Agricola played all the way through. Just one of the ways that you can play the game. I tried to show you a little bit of different strategies to do things. I did a pretty good job, I think, of developing my farm board. Made sure that I got all the animals. I wanted to make sure that I had grain and vegetables. Used my occupations, built some major improvements, and also have some minor improvements along the way. You got a chance to see all the different resources and the pieces that come in the game. And this is a playthrough of the solo game for the new version of Agricola. All right, hopefully you enjoyed this and it gives you an idea of the game if this is something for you. And I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.